Right, hello and welcome to our second In the Know session. We had one earlier in the month. It was a little bit of a guinea pig session, and it was great to get feedback from you guys. Thank you so much for those of you who joined us at the time. Can I ask, before we get going, if you are unmuted, to just mute yourself so that we can remove any of the background noise, and then we will get started. So happy to see you all in our virtual room today. And if I could just ask you to keep yourself on mute, please. Just put yourself on mute so that we can get kick-started. Great, thank you so much. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Natalia Rosa from Big Ambitions, and it's my pleasure to moderate today's session on behalf of ATW Connect. As I said, we hosted our first session at the beginning of the month to test the breakaway rooms that we do. And again, my thanks to everyone who joined us and gave us feedback from that event to help us make it better each time. And again, if you have feedback from this session, we're also very grateful for it. So today is going to be fast-paced like it was the last time, and hopefully very informative for all of us. But before we begin again, just some housekeeping. We're in a virtual room. You all have the power to speak. You all have the power to chat. And so I'd like to ask you to please keep yourself on mute if you are not talking, so we can avoid the background noise. If you would like to speak, we'd love to hear from you. All you would need to do is either put in the chat that you'd like to say something, or just include something in the chat, or you can use the non-verbal cues and put your hand up, and we will then call on you to say what it is that you wanted to say. So on that point, the chat is open. Let's kick off by letting everyone know where you're connecting from and what company you're connecting from, so we can get the conversation going. And as you can see, we're all in this big virtual room together. There are probably going to be about 100 of us to 150 of us in this virtual room. At a certain point in time, we're going to split you up into separate breakaway rooms. So you will see a message on your screen. All you need to do is to accept that message, and like magic, you'll be transported into another room with your industry peers. And we would very much like for you to have your video on, if possible, if you're feeling brave, and to have stimulating discussion with each other around the topics that we're going to talk about. So we're going to tackle two discussion points today based on your feedback in the last session. There's been a lot of discussions behind the scenes around timelines and lobbying for earlier lifting of lockdown. We don't have control over that, but what we do know is that we can ensure that we have some sort of presence. So you might think that at this time, there's no point in marketing yourself or your destination, but it is a lot harder to disappear and come back. So we have to retain some presence. And that is why today we are going to be focusing on how to cut through the clutter and how to cut through the noise, and crowdsourcing some of the solutions to that. But before I kick off, I'd just like to hand over to Megan from Reed Exhibitions to give us a brief welcome. Megs, I hope you're on the call. I'm going to hand over to you quickly.
Hello everyone, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Sorry, I've been having some internet connectivity issues, and I see under Amanda's name, so I apologize. Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us again. It's really exciting that you're all actually contributing. And what is important to us is that it's actually that we're engaging with you instead of talking at you. So thank you for your time, and we're looking forward to opening some great conversations with you and actually getting your feedback. But I'll hand you back to Nat so we can kick off.
Great, thank you so much, Megan. Chelsea, are you still driving the PowerPoint? Is someone else driving the PowerPoint for me today? Okay, great. So can we get to the next slide? Right, so we're going to start in our first breakout room talking about the one brand you are most grateful for right now. I obviously only have eyes for travel, so I always look at the travel brands. I don't look anywhere else. But you might know of a brand that you've seen either on TV, or you've heard about on radio, or you've seen it on an online website that you're very grateful for right now, because they're doing some really amazing marketing. They're putting out some very special messaging. And I'd like us to talk about that in our first breakout session. So let's have a chat about what they're doing right. Maybe look at what the ones that are doing wrong things are doing wrong, and let's see how they're doing it. Next slide, please. So I'm going to give you some examples of guys who really resonated with the idea of it's a lot harder to disappear and come back. So we are looking at the likes of Portugal, for example, that have come up with a really fantastic video around Daring to Hope. I don't know if some of you have seen the YouTube link that they have sent out with a video about just keeping that dream of travel alive. And speaking about dreaming of travel, we have the One Day in the Western Cape Westgrow campaign. If you've seen the West Coast National Park video, it's quite a great virtual walk on the wild side of going up the West Coast. And I live in the Swartland, so it's around the corner for me, and it's really, really special. We have Bex Ndlovu, who is doing some really, really great work on Facebook Live. He's hosting these weekly chats, which is great to keep his brand alive. And for those of you who haven't watched the Marriott interview with the CEO of Marriott, where he gives this really authentic human perspective on where the business is at the moment, where the brand is at the moment, and how his organization is feeling and how, you know, they are feeling for their guests. Next slide, please, Chelsea. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is to name some of these brands. So what are some of the brands that are doing really good work? Oh, we've got a bit of a yo-yo happening on our PowerPoint. I'd like for us to just address some of those. You know, they might be in travel, they might be out of travel, they might be in something that you're very interested in. So if we could just throw everyone into the breakout rooms now for me, please. Roland, I don't know, you have access? No, I've got access. I have all the power today, right. So I'm gonna open all the rooms now. Just click on the button and you're gonna go through to those rooms and have a chat. And if you don't click on the button, you are going to be stuck with me. So name the brands that you're really proud of, you love what they're doing at the moment, whether or not they're travel and tourism brands, and have a think about what they're doing. How are they managing to cut through the clutter? And I'm opening the rooms now. Click on the button and off you will be transported into, like magic, into a breakout room.
Which button, Nat? Sorry.
So Angus, you're going to have a button that comes up on your screen. You just need to click on that button and it will come up. And if you are left in the room with me, that's fine. I will just assign you to a room afterwards. So if the button hasn't appeared, you just hang 10 and I will assign you.
Okay, I don't have a button either.
Yeah,
okay, no problem. That's absolutely fine. So we'll just let everybody
share the screen.
There we go. Have you got a button?
No button, no.
Okay, so I'm going to start assigning you guys. And in the meantime, maybe you guys can start talking about brands that have popped to mind.
Yeah, tourism in my blood.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
They've done such an amazing job. And it seems to be very Southern Africa focused, although I have seen quite a lot of stuff coming out in other regions as well. I've seen a few people from Italy commenting.
Yeah. I think that's I like the foreign operators and things, and people are seeing where their people go. But I was they've got big plans to grow. Eh?
What are their plans? What do you know about the plans?
Well, they're looking. Whoa, okay, Tessa, you take over. I've just got to get my kids.
Yes.
Thanks, Angus.
You just dumped you.
Yeah, somewhat.
Oh, sorry. I think it's. I know though that they're looking further into Africa already.
Yeah,
and they're starting groups. You've seen Botswana and these.
Yeah, I know there's a Botswana one, a Mozambique one starting, and I think Namibia.
Yeah.
I'm not sure beyond that, but yeah, the conversations are amazing, and the networking in it as well. It's brilliant.
And that's mostly trade focused, hey? There's no kind of consumer aspect to it.
It's very, very much trade focused.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it's amazing and how quickly things have got traction. But, you know, that's just a message on how people have embraced online in ways that they didn't potentially embrace. It's kind of forced us all a little bit out of our comfort zone to kind of start doing things that we didn't really want to do, even like virtual meetings. I think about virtual meetings, the number of people who didn't want to do a virtual meeting and now they're so used to doing virtual meetings. What other brands come to mind?
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course, go for it.
This caught, Flip. Okay, I'm going to lose you. But what caught my eye was Japan aims to revive the virus-hit tourism by footing the bill for local travel.
I saw that.
You see that? That just caught my eye, and I thought, wow, what a nice, thing.
Of course, I'm recording. Guys, so tell us about the different brands that you've noticed during this COVID period. Things that you're actually really grateful for.
I think from my side, Roland, one campaign, and I guess it's just close to my heart, is the City of Cape Town. And they've done the We're Worth Waiting For. And for me, the success in that is just reminding people that they are there and they're not going anywhere. And it's that consistent communication. And I just love the messaging behind it, is that it's worth the wait. And maybe you can't see us now, but we're coming back later. So personally, I really enjoy that campaign.
Yeah. On a similar note, lots of destinations coming out with the same type of messaging, saying travel later, or we'll see you again in time, or whatever. And one that I've noticed was Seychelles Tourism.
Yes,
so their hashtag is Experience Seychelles Later. But it's got also this wonderfully narrated video and these amazing visuals of the Seychelles that just really want you to go and book your flight to the Seychelles. But it ends off, we'll be back, we'll be traveling later, those type of things, which that was the one for me that really stood out on a tourism front. But then non-travel related, have you guys maybe noticed any of those brands that you maybe saw?
I mean,
like the online businesses like Takeoff and Yappy Chef were quite busy supporting the non-essentials and the essentials and that.
Yes,
we saw them all over advertising.
Yeah, and based on that, actually, that reminds me of a brand that I ordered something from. I think what's the Versus Socks. It's sporty socks and whatever. So when I ordered something from them, they firstly apologized to me that they took so long of getting the order sorted and everything. So their communication was just brilliant for me. I was updated through the whole delivery process. But then at the end, once I got my package, they actually sent me an email and say, listen, guys, this is not what we used to. We understand there's reasons for the delay in delivery, but we're not happy with our service. And we're sorry about that. And here's a voucher for a next order, just to try and make up for those things. So that the communication firstly throughout the whole process was brilliant for me. And then also the humanity, or the going back at the end and say, sorry, we know this is not what you expect from us, but this is the reason why it's taking, or why it took so long. And here's something to just say sorry. I really like that as well. And then another one for me was, I don't know what the radio situation's like from KFM and those guys in the Cape. I don't know, are any of you from the Cape? Yeah.
Yeah.
So 947 in Joburg, they pretty much continued their shows with a bit of a spin on the COVID thing. So they had things in between every day just to make it a bit more lighthearted, especially that first month in COVID, where everybody was down in the dumps and stressful and worried and things. Couple of inserts into the shows, they just had that way of changing an outlook and making things a bit more fun, and still completing with their normal programs and things. I really like that as well.
Another campaign when you're talking about radio, Roland, is Hot 91.9. They've actually now broken it up into for small businesses. You can go on and just book a advertising slot instead of having to buy these huge radio packages that go over months, and they're just completely out of your price point. They've done, go on, book your 2 sessions or your slots and tell us what you need to about your brand.
Okay, cool. That's also brilliant. Oh. How about the rest of you guys? Have you seen anything worth mentioning?
Yeah, like the Smile 90.4, 91.4 something. So they are the quarantine station, your quarantine station. So they're something like that.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, Santi, we can. Yeah.
Okay. I've put in other earpieces, so I think the other one speaker wasn't working very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you maybe seen any brands that stood out during the COVID time for you? Maybe something that you noticed, TV, radio, online, destination?
Yeah. I've also noticed City of Cape Town's branding. I mean, we in St. Francis, we're much smaller than the City of Cape Town. So we did a thing that we said St. Francis through my eyes. What we asked people around St. Francis to send us their pictures, and we've splashed it on our social media platforms.
Wat is dit? Ektoors, né? Wat is sy naam?
Ja.
Hy's wat? Wat is sy naam?
Jonker.
Jonker.
Vra dat.
Nee.
I think with that user-generated content, which you say you used images and videos from people, that's actually very good. It gives a kind of a human aspect. There's no salesy trying to sell you something. It's
yeah.
I don't know what's the right word. It's unedited and raw, and it's real. That type of thing. That's always for me a very cool campaign. Doesn't matter in what situation you are. But I really like that as well.
And then Skift has been phenomenal. So Skift, their marketing, and that's just been great. And I think what I really enjoy about them is that they talk about the world of tourism. So it's not specific to one region, but it's almost an info portal you can go onto. And they released a phenomenal timeline, and it was an infographic of where the world is opening up, and it came out this week. And it's just something that's really simple, and it cuts out all of the noise, and you can literally use it as your go-to.
Is die bestuurder van Ektoors, né?
Yes. And I think also what makes Skift good is you've got various touch points. So you've got their blog, you've got their mailers, you've got their webinars, and each there's a bit of a golden thread moving through all of these different things. They all talk around the same messaging and give the same message, but in each way they're kind of different. So they hit people on different levels, if I can call it that.
Yeah, agreed. And I just think their marketing, as I say, it really cuts through the noise, because there is so much. And I'm sure we're all feeling it, that you have so many webinars and that happening, and it's kind of like you're being spoken at instead of being getting that engagement. And that's where I'm enjoying Skift from that perspective, is that they're listening to what people need to hear, what they're requesting, and they're responding.
Yes, yeah. Very cool. Sorry, I'm just going to check here. Was a chat message sent through earlier? Oh, it's just a general message.
I think what's also exciting is, I'm just obviously thinking about the Indian Ocean Islands, is Mauritius, and how they've been promoting it, and Seychelles as well, is that we're COVID-free, and they're preparing to welcome you back. And it's almost like that good news that you've been waiting for is that COVID-free zone. And I think it's reminding people that there's this light at the end of what seems like a very dark and lengthy tunnel too.
Yes, yeah. On the other side of that, when this whole thing hit, you had tour operators going Mauritius, and I think it was Air Mauritius, I'm not sure, saying that Mauritius is a safe zone. Which I wasn't quite happy with the wording that they used, because around the whole world was COVID, and Mauritius pops up and calls themselves a safe zone. Now that's just looking for trouble. And
absolutely,
a week after that first email, after they said Mauritius is a safe zone, come to Mauritius, what they started getting words, getting cases. Yeah, sorry. So that's actually one example that we as a team also noticed, and we saw. Now, if you do stuff like that, like I say, you're kind of looking for trouble. So I'm hoping. Yes, yeah. A small country like that relies heavily on any tourism might get it back, or might experience things like that really, really quickly. So yeah, guys, so we can leave the breakout rooms and we'll see you on the other side.
Great. Thanks, Roland.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Okay. So these were the first. I see we have Karen and Ali and Penelope in here now. But yeah, I'll just sort of kick this question off. When I was thinking about a brand that I'm grateful for right now and what I like, what it is that they're doing that I like right now, it's not within travel and tourism, but the New York Times publication, which is something I don't often read because they have a firewall, but they've actually created all their content free to access, the Corona COVID related content, which I think is just shows that they're not trying to take advantage of the situation. And they've also put out a podcast called The Daily, which I think is also good because I don't know, for me, I've found also just reading long form articles not the best sort of way, that I'm not digesting that information the same in the last couple of weeks and months. And so listening to a podcast, I find it just like a really refreshing format. So I was just thinking about that in terms of brands that maybe need to think about different marketing channels during this time because people are digesting information differently.
The one I quite, which they're sort of doing a good job, but producing beautiful dream videos is Tourism KwaZulu-Natal. So they've done quite a few videos which are great. Some of the content on their Facebook page I don't like, but I must say the videos that I've been sharing are apps that they've been producing are beautiful.
Okay, we'll definitely have to take a look.
Yes. Do I get it too? Or is it okay?
Yes, please. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I've used much of the. I'm Karen Schrader. I'm with in Azafontein with Azafontein Accommodation. So we do guest accommodation. I've used the time to do an online course. So I haven't done much, looking at brands and stuff. But one thing that did impress me, because I've got a son in Norway, the Norwegian tourism industry, or government or whatever, has produced a video. It is daring because I mean, it's about a girl that go all these places with her little rucksack, and she stands on the cliffs and she goes through, the streets, and it's beautiful. It's just what I think I would like to do. It's just beautiful, and it's simple, nothing funny. It's the simplicity and the natural whole thing about Norway, the environment and the nature, it just reflects it beautiful.
Yeah. It sounds like it really sort of creates an emotion in you when you watch it.
It did, absolutely, yes.
That's another good one to check out. I'm making a list of all these. Does anyone else want to share?
Sorry, I joined late. I didn't get the button. So I'm sure you've all mentioned Tourism in My Blood already.
No, you're bringing up first in this group.
Am I the first? Okay. I just think they're amazing. Apparently they got 500 joins in the first 24 hours, which was unexpected. And they're now sitting on 13,500 people on Facebook. And I think it's testament to us all wanting to be able to chat and be together. So that's a really good one. And I also saw an advert from South African breweries yesterday, and talking about when they can start selling alcohol again next week, and how to be careful with not consuming too much. And they just put a really nice sort of message on it. Yes, alcohol will be for sale again, but just be careful when maintain the same rules that would keep you safe. So I thought that was quite nice.
Yeah, I think that just shows to, again, not like capitalizing on the situation, and just genuine communication right now is so appreciated. Yeah. And I think consumers are more savvy than ever, cutting through what's not genuine and what is. So
absolutely, yeah. Because there's so much fake news, isn't there? One has to be so careful what to believe and what not to believe. So you've got to be very careful.
Yeah. And that, so I'm also a member of the Tourism is in My Blood. Was it a group that was only started like back in March then?
Yeah, so I think within the first week of lockdown, they started. It was literally like, what can we do? Oh, let's just set up a group and see what happens. And it was obviously just the timing was really, really good. And it was just something that people wanted to use. So we've now set up a couple of other pages as well on the back of it, for Botswana, for Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia, and Mozambique, which are all tagged to Tourism in My Blood. So hopefully you can all start sharing. I think it's possibly Facebook pages that might have longer life than just during the lockdown. I hope that they will have an ongoing need to have these pages up.
Yeah, I think it speaks directly to a need, as you said. Just people during this time especially, but going forward, just people wanting to connect and share ideas and ask questions. There's a reason. So travel and tourism can be so fragmented, and you have so many small operators and small entities, and so to feel like you're not going it alone and be able to connect through a channel like that is great.
Hello, I think we lost Jill.
Sorry, yes, I was just being distracted. Yeah, no, I heard what you said. Yeah, no, it's super. So if anybody wants to link up, please do.
Here we go.
Can everybody hear me?
Sharon, yes, we can.
Hi, I'm Sharon and from the Western Cape, very interested in the tourism industry. I deal a lot with permitting in that sphere. I've just seen recently on Facebook, and it's something that I thought was rather interesting. The hair salon, beauty salon industry, we just put a whole lot of ideas together and a video on Facebook of all the various measures that they can take, including providing equipment for people to clean their shoes, their feet, before they enter a salon. And that was rather interesting. They've done quite a lot of trouble with that, and illustrated in this video how they can actually make it safe and not necessarily have to expose clients who visit a salon. It was rather interesting to watch.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Sharon. I think that's a great point too, because going forward, travelers are going to need a lot of reassurance, I think, to get back on a plane and to get back in joining a tour and staying in accommodation. And if the industry can also put together a robust set of protocols and communicate it, I think that will go a long way in giving people the reassurance they'll need. I personally am so ready to travel, protocol or not, but. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of what we mentioned here was, and just thinking of the format, was in video. And I think in the last couple of months, we've seen so much communication by video, or it's, we've never probably done more webinars than before. And so it's just an interesting point of like how we're communicating with people. and through social media, of course.
Could it be that also it doesn't really matter about what we communicate, it's just the fact that we are speaking to one another. Isn't that, because I mean, I've gone through so many emotions, and I'm not per se an emotional person. I mean, I don't, but you know, how you experience the whole thing and going forward, and what is, you know, just handling this whole thing and how to plan, for when to plan, and what you will kind of, what's okay to say or what's okay to feel. Like what you're just saying, no matter, you know, what the restrictions are, I just want to go. I'm just ready to go. And how you relate with that, those kind of videos or pictures, even if it's just a small picture of a dog lying on a mat and checking it out, and what you see is not the dog, you're just seeing, I'm ready to go. It is so funny, you know, all these, how you relate to everything at the moment, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you know, I think that's a good point too. Like, there, even for the relatively unemotional ones amongst us, like, there's still, I think we're still going through so many ups and downs as things as we go along, and so there's so many different needs out there right now too. Like, sometimes what people really want is distraction, and because they're bored, or they want entertainment to feel like to boost their mood, or they are craving that connection, or it's reassurance. And so I just like, yeah, I just think we're addressing so many different things, and if we are putting communication out there, the more the better. And it will resonate with someone, I'm sure.
I must say, we are a safari lodge, and I've never ever had so much interaction. We've always been very close to our guests. They've become very friendly with us, with our team. But so we've always had the interaction. But at the moment, anything you post, you know, they'll want to know I get inbox messages asking about Pierre and the children and how Zinhle is and where are they safe? It's really, really beautiful. And then they also want to know who's left at the lodge and what they're doing, what the animals are doing. So I must say the range, and also our ranger teams that are left behind are bored. So they do go out, and they've been having loads of fun with the guests, but they're all dying for them to come back again. So it's like, please, I get inbox, when are you opening? Can we come? Can we come? We need to come.
Do that. And I thought, I was quite impressed with what they did, because it just makes it it's digestible. The children aspect they haven't got, I think that's a fabulous aspect. You know, education, future.
Suzanne, are you there? You can unmute yourself. Hello, Ariel.
Yes, I'm here.
You guys can unmute yourself. How are you?
Good, and you?
Good.
Yeah, I'm very well, a little bit cold.
Where are you, Suzanne?
I'm in Cape Town, Fredo.
I'm also in Cape Town, so very, very cold, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, how are you?
Good, and you? Hi.
Thank you.
I'll start my video now, don't worry.
Ariel, am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, you are.
How are you doing?
I'm good, and you guys?
Good. I think Sandy's joining us. Who wants to kick off first?
Love to kick off, but I can't think of anyone that stands out at the moment.
No brand that's standing out for you?
No.
Ariel?
No one at the moment, but I've seen that Africa as a whole is doing something. Like, I think they're looking at the flights, you know, the European flights, not being able to come to Africa. Why can't we do business within Africa as well, you know?
Do you know who's driving that?
I know that Sun International. I know that there's a Zoom meeting coming up at 4 o'clock today with CEO of tourism involved. And I know that there's different association coming up as well.
Okay.
Just a quick thought. I'm actually thinking of SAT now, South African Tourism. I think they've been doing pretty well over the last couple of weeks with CISA. I must admit, in the past, they've been very quiet for me, SAT in particular, within South Africa. I mean, externally, outside of South Africa, yeah, do a good job, but it's nice to hear them a bit more vocal this time.
Okay, and Jason, what do you think they're doing well? Is it kind of information that they're providing, or
information sharing, motivating, liaising with government, TBCSA? Yeah, I think they're doing a good job.
Okay, Larissa, any ideas?
Hi, everybody. I think the brand that stands out for me right now that's doing something different and keeping things relevant is And Beyond Travel. I follow them on Facebook, and they're bringing the game drives, the live game drives. I mean, they can't have any guests right now, anything like that. So their game drives in the morning and in the evening has certainly created brand affinity from my side and as a family, and it's provided escapism and just that opportunity to see the world as to what's going out there from the bushes side. So it's indulging, as I said, from an escapism point of view, and I just think they've been very clever in capturing this sort of, potential opportunity and doing things differently and keeping themselves very much out there.
I agree, and I heard that they were actually picked up on CNN and getting some of their game drives broadcast through CNN, which is fantastic because it puts the lens on South Africa. And you're right, they were so clever, but they were also so quick. They were the first to do it.
Yeah,
and it's a really high quality sort of production or product as well. It's been fantastic. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think the nice thing it's created, because the consistency has been amazing. You get to know the guys who are doing the game drives. You get to know who likes what nuances, and obviously that comes from going on it frequently. But again, it just allows that warm feeling towards the brand because you get to know people, you get to understand things a bit better.
Amanda, how are you? You're on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
We
Hi,
can. Are there any brands that have stuck out for you?
So I'm part of Read Exhibitions, the ATW Connect team. So I'd love to be biased and say that, I think our brand and what we are trying to achieve in the industry and bringing everyone together is a really great initiative. But beyond that, I think it's just interesting to pick up on, there's so much happening out there, whether it's the game reserves, whether it's the media that are sort of, like you mentioned, projecting Africa through a different lens. There's some really exciting things starting to come out. If you look at Mauritius and Seychelles that are now opening up tourism, there's a lot of positivity. So for me, that's just really exciting.
I think for me as well, I'm just really enjoying the fact that there is still positivity out there because it's been a long 2 months. And we don't know how much longer it's going to go on for. It kind of seems like an endless runway to the end of the year. And so to pick up on that positivity, and for me, it's also social media. There are a lot of people on social media like Patricia from Opulent Travel who are doing chats, and keeping their brands and exploring different destinations around South Africa and different accommodation. And it's just lovely actually to see people working together as well.
Great.
Suzanne, anything from your side that you've seen or picked up or?
Yeah, I must actually say I try to stay away from social media and all that as much as possible because I think I'm so much on the computer anyway. And I just know that we have to wait until 2021. I'm reading a good book on a woman who spends 1 year every month in a different city. And I actually followed her a little bit, but just reading up on a city where she was. There's nothing on the internet. I'm just reading about Addis Ababa or Barcelona or any city. So I'm doing my own traveling, but I'm kind of not in all this glossy. I mean, no, I don't know. It actually makes me a bit sad to know that this is all gone. And when it comes back, I can jump right back into it if it comes back. I mean, when I hear that about 85% of businesses will go down, so I don't know what will be out on the other side. So I rather focus on the here and now, on whatever, the weather, what is now here, and kind of get going.
Except the weather for today.
Yeah, no, but that's fine as well, actually. Instead of dreaming myself away and wishing something different, it's actually nice to feel the wet and the cold and
sure.
I love
Absolutely. This kind of weather reminds me of Clarence and fireplaces and, you know, a little bit of snow in Lesotho.
Yeah, it's just focus on the here and now. I will. So the brand I'm interested in is my Nespresso machine because I have enough supply. But that's my brand basically, but they don't need to do some marketing. I just buy it anyway.
I love that. So that's the brand you're most thankful for, your Nespresso machine.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. Or 5 Roses.
In saying that, I think the retail brands are also doing a really, really good job. If you think about the Pick and Pays and the Woolworths and the Checkers, they've actually come together and put out some brands, you know, with the 3 or 4 retailers together producing brands. I thought that was extraordinary.
True, yes.
It's been good overall, I think, to see the adaptation from a number of different organizations. I mean, those guys who sort of were quick to jump on the delivery. The other one that stands out to me is Ideas Cartel. He was always doing the remote office work, and he literally did a complete swing about. And he even said, you know, he thought his days of paying his school fees, so to speak, were done. But here he was right at the beginning again, starting out, and they started sort of boutique deliveries and stuff, deli type food. And I see now that he's combining a lot of his previous things, pre-COVID, and his current things. He's got a whole new service offering that's come out of this. And that level of flexibility, you've got to commend it. And I think a lot of companies that we've seen, Bottles is another one. They used to, you know, delivery of liquor first and foremost, but they quickly jumped on, and I see they're making use of the guys from Mr. D and that sort of thing to do deliveries of groceries. They partnered up with Pick and Pay. So I think, you know, those of us are left in the dust. I feel I'm left in the dust to a large extent because of some of the way these guys have adapted. And you've got to commend their thinking. You've got to commend their flexibility in terms of just, all right, the adaptation of things. The thing that comes across in all of these brands is what it does. And I think that's something going forward that I keep thinking for myself is every single one of these brands have made life easier for all of us in our current situation. And that is a massive thing. And it's a question that we ask ourselves time and time again is all right, not what can I do to help you? It's what do you need in order for me to help you? And to be able to sit in that and to be able to function effectively, I think is quite powerful. And I think those are the guys that are going to create that loyalty early on. And yeah, as I say, that question as to what do you need from me is a powerful one, because those are the guys who've moved things right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's fantastic. We've got a tiny and I'm not sure I'm going to get the name right now. 420 Cafe in Wynberg, which used to be a little coffee shop, and of course you can't trade like everybody else, and they've completely flipped their offering to be a fresh produce kind of supply in Cape Town, so you can go and get organic food and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
that's great.
Yeah, and apparently they've completely taken out every single table, chairs, completely changed it inside. It's now an organic, natural sort of farm stall almost that they've done, which is fantastic. So you're right. It's about being flexible and answering that need.
And innovative.
Yeah, the easiest way possible.
Granadilla swimsuits, the high-end swimsuit guys. I mean, it was fascinating to actually see what they did. They started deliveries of fresh fruit and vegetables. And yeah, you can see a bit of the brand affinity there, the freshness, that sort of thing. But it was impressive to see that switch.
What's great is that people who bought Granadilla's swimwear in the past are going to carry on supporting them because of the experience they've had through lockdown. So you're just building a more and more loyal customer base.
No, for sure. Because
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi there. Sorry, we had to, Yola and Charmaine, I see you here on with me. We had to just automatically drop people into rooms because the sound rooms just weren't working. So that's fine. We've got 3 of us here in the room with Lorraine, Des, and Jackie. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi. So who wants to, have you guys been discussing something already, or am I kickstarting?
No, you can start.
We were waiting for you, Chelsea.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, Des, why don't you tell me, what brand have you been admiring throughout lockdown and the restrictions, be it travel or any sort of sector that's really made an impression on you, and what are they doing that makes them so special?
Well, my business is very focused, so it gives me a very narrow path to follow. And the only brand that's really been making an impression for me has been Beachcomber. Beachcomber Hotels and Resorts, because and their focus is very much trade focused, and they've unlike some of their competitive tour operators, I think they've been working, whereas many of the others seem to have stopped doing anything. They're waiting for lockdown to finish. But I don't think they've been doing anything very special. It's just the fact that they're there.
Mm.
And they keep plugging away the hope that they'll see us all again in Mauritius in a short time.
So you're saying it's consistency that's been ticking your boxes when it comes to their content. And where exactly is their content? Where are you finding their content? Is it social media? Is it on their website? Is it their blog?
Well, it's mailers mostly, and just mail shots, and also on the trade websites like Travel Info and that sort of thing.
Okay, great. Charmaine, Lorraine, Yola, Jackie, would you like to also jump in and tell us about the brands that you've been admiring quite a bit over lockdown?
Yeah, Chelsea, I'd like to add,
Sure.
It's not travel related, the DA.
Okay.
They've been amazing. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I tune into CoronaCast, and John Steenhuisen actually deciphers what the ministers have been saying, pretty much, interpreting what they're saying. I think, they're a great voice, and they're getting the message across to the sectors that need to hear it. They on social media, they've got a website, and like I said, they just decipher what's going on, because it's terrifying times that we're going through, and I don't think anybody knows where they stand right now. You look at countries like Australia, they've got an unlock system that's being communicated. We don't, and especially travel. It's terrifying for us. We don't know whether, when a passenger calls, what we're supposed to do. Do we book him? What or her? Are there certain documentation? There's just no communication, filtering in. So I'd like, them to possibly hone in on the travel side of the tourism sector, but they are a great voice, and have been a great voice for me, over the period.
Okay, are you following them mostly on social media as well, or is it community groups on Facebook that you're in?
Are you referring to that?
Yeah, just when you see their messaging, is it mostly on sort of their Facebook page?
So it's on their Facebook page, and then they obviously record it, and it's on YouTube, so you could listen to it later. You're also able to forward it on to friends and families. So, just getting the word out there. And it's an hour, 2 times a week, and at least it puts you into perspective in terms of what's happening in the country.
Okay, interesting. And Lorraine, would you like to jump in as well and share what brands have...
Back to tourism, I must say yesterday, funny enough, I saw the most amazing campaign on curiosity hostels for Joburg. Well, obviously they're in Joburg, Cape Town and Durban, but I'm kind of biased because it's SATSA and it's ATEC and it's all of that, but I don't know whether you've seen it. It's about a 5-minute video on social media and it's fabulous. Becky himself is walking around the streets of Joburg, which are now empty. Well, I was in Joburg yesterday. They're not so empty, but they were empty when he took the video, which was probably the first or second week into lockdown. And it's absolutely amazing to see a city that's normally completely full of people, and he's walking around looking at all the street art particularly. But it's really, I think, very moving and very fabulous. And already I checked this morning, they've had the most amazing response to it. I agree with Jackie. I must say the DA have been doing they're doing a lot of talking, and I mean, hopefully getting somewhere. I think also India have been doing some good stuff I've seen, and Portugal, I saw that one in Portugal, very good as well. Yeah, just all waiting patiently to open up again, I suppose.
These little folded birds that they're using, it's a whole message of sending love and peace and health out into the world. It's a stunning video, and it's not trying to promote Thailand or entice you to travel there. It's just a kind of we're all in this together kind of message, which I think resonates. You've got to be talking to people in a way that they can actually hear right now. And I think most people can't even imagine a time when we can travel yet again. It's just still too far into the future. So I think it's about staying relevant and sort of giving that message to your audience. We're also in this lockdown with you. We're all in it together, the good and the bad. That's my take on it.
Thanks, Di. Yeah, I take it slightly differently. I do like those sort of posts that are fuzzy and warm, but I enjoy more the sort of business take on in where companies are keeping you informed. And I think Delta is doing that really well at the moment. They haven't gone into, although, I mean, most of their staff were, they weren't actually let off. It was voluntary sort of let off. But I just like the way they're keeping you informed all of the time. And they're doing quite a lot of social stuff as well. And I think that's important right now, especially when airlift is so important to the tourism industry, that they really are just keeping you informed. And I love what they're doing. And also they're doing things like the CEO speaks and quite a lot of different people giving a different perspective. But that's one that sort of stands out for me at the moment.
So from my side, I'm going to jump in there and I'm going to agree with both Guy and Martina. I think for me, what I'm loving at the moment is there's inspirational messages that are coming out. I think, we all joined or we all became part of the travel industry, whether we organize exhibitions for the travel industry or we manage properties or we write pieces. We've got the wanderlust. And I think, being stuck at home right now, we can only imagine and dream of what's to come. And I really love the whole entire idea of the We Worth Waiting For campaign that Cape Town did. I think it was extremely clever. Everyone asks me, because I'm based up in Joburg, like, why don't you ever move to Cape Town? My question is, then where would I go on holiday? And I think they really have done a phenomenal campaign. And back to your thing as well, Martina, I think the brands that are doing things really well for me right now are those ones that are staying authentic and true to themselves. It's like the CEO has normally always been, like for big companies like a Delta, they're the ones in the corner office that never really goes out onto the ground. And I think this is what this current situation is turning for us, that, we're looking to the people for guidance and let's keep it real and move it down. So, I mean, I think that's for me coming out of all of this is be authentic, be true to yourself, and be true to what brand you are. Don't know if anyone else wants to jump in.
Martina, I haven't put on makeup either, so yeah.
Nor your toupee, I see.
Oh my God! Oh, I'll have to wear a bag of beans on my head. Hi, anyway, my name is Rob Heatham. I'm from a company called TQ Consulting. I do a lot of coaching and executive development at the moment, and did a lot of work with the tourism companies at the beginning of the lockdown, COVID-19. I'm also a board member and vice chair of SATSA, and I think that they've done a really, really awesome job in terms of marketing without actually marketing. And I think one of the things that really appealed to me was, and comes through in our coaching businesses as well, is that marketing without putting in people's faces is probably the best way to do in terms of building resilience in a relationship. And I think those companies who've managed to put out something that's authentic and real, true to them and true to their customers' needs and emotional satisfaction are the ones that have been most successful. So yeah, I haven't done any great. I've been flat out busy, so I haven't really done any great research on some of the big brand leaders. But I got to say that I have noticed a number of them using, the sort of gimmicky hashtags under the guise of feeling and caring for their customers when they're actually just doing a blatant plug. So I can probably say what good marketing isn't and good branding isn't. But I'm very pleased to hear that you guys have got some handles on what some of the leaders are doing in terms of getting that brand awareness without shoving it down anyone's throat. So yeah, that's just my 5 cents worth.
Hi, I'm Melanie Coetzee. I'm from ITC from Cape Town. Been in the industry a long, long time. For me, what is really motivating maybe some of the travel agencies is Beachcomber and also World Leisure that have been keeping us updated, mainly about Mauritius, but it does whet your appetite very much. But to do, we've just got to be positive there and just sort of stay in, and it's very hard at the moment. And I just think that maybe they're doing a good job in keeping us informed, and also the airlines are the ones that are really keeping us up to date, even though their rules change every single day. But I had a friend of mine who's in the cruising business in Naples in the USA, and the lovely thing she put at the end of her email was to say, "Stay inspired, we'll get back out there." So hopefully that will work.
And I'm Jackie, and it's probably a good thing you can't see my face, but apologies. I did try to switch over to my phone, but the truth is I don't know what I've done with it. I think I must have left it in the car earlier, and I was late arriving for this whole shebang anyway, so it's a little bit of a disaster. To answer the question, I've kind of been thinking, what am I gonna answer? But the truth is that I'm a tour operator based in Cape Town, and so of course within the space of a week everything tanked. We've spent a month and a bit now rescheduling. Fortunately we only had one cancellation, but everybody else has rescheduled, and throughout this period this whole sort of I think we were all just taken so by surprise, and we had to, in the throes of the shock of COVID and lockdown, we had to manage the loss of most of our businesses. So I know that I'm talking to a group of people who understand what I'm saying, and I found I was spending, at least for the first month and a half, way too much time online, just trying to kind of get to grips with what was going on and what everybody else was doing and what everybody else was thinking and what everybody else was experiencing, and then looking for advice. And there are quite a few places that I found a lot of good information and a lot of validation that, you know, some of the decisions that we had taken were probably the right decisions for us, because a lot of people in similar situations were taking similar decisions. One thing I did do was I kind of got involved in podcasts, and there are some brilliant podcasts out there. Whether it's something new that you're learning, or if it's just sort of solidifying something that you already know, I kind of found a lot of solace in particular podcasts, and one is the Tourpreneur podcast. You'll find it on anywhere that you get podcasts, and there's a lot of good information and just kind of good camaraderie that I'm finding. They also have a Facebook page, a lot of information on there, and I've been very grateful for that. Then from a marketing point of view, the Visit Finland website I have found to be quite inspiring, because they've been doing a lot of really good stuff. Up until now, they've been doing this sort of adopt a Finn, or find your own Finn, when you travel to Finland, and they've gone virtual. They've literally taken their whole concept and taken it virtual. Just it's worth having a look at that. And then locally, Suzanne Bailey-Coop and Classic Portfolios and her Tuesday chats I have found to be incredibly insightful and very helpful from a local tourism point of view. Just, you know, all the familiar names and faces, and just to hear how they're dealing with this, and just to share ideas and opinions, and I found that has been super useful. So yeah, I see we're closing in a few seconds, so I'm going to back off now and give someone else a chance.
That is so awesome. Did anybody have any other brands that came to mind that they wanted to talk about? Anybody brave enough to unmute themselves and tell us what they had a chat about?
Hi, Natalia. I'll jump in. In our group, 3 things came out, and I'm trying to remember. The one was the Liz McGrath hotels, because the lady happens to work for them, and she's very proud of her brand. Rose, I can't remember which brand you came out with. Unmute and speak up, please.
Oh, shit, hold on. Sorry.
That's not us.
That was me. Sorry. I started the... I first spoke about the Japan one.
Yeah, Japan, that's right.
That was it. Yeah, Japan, they're trying to stimulate their tourism internally in South Africa.
Yes. And I, on the other hand, was impressed with Kenya. Well, I am impressed with Kenya, how proactive they are on their Instagram and social media, just very subtly putting the message out there that they're ready for business. They just need the green light to go ahead.
And that's actually a really good point, Tess, because, you know, we talk about South Africa only opening up in, what was it, February 2021. And our neighbors are opening up a lot faster. To what extent would we be left behind, basically, if we didn't market, never mind, didn't open our borders when our region is essentially?
Well, we will be, and I think the hot topic right now is, you know, can our local tourism actually get, you know, started up again? If not during June, certainly early July. And from my groups that I'm involved with, is certainly lobbying for that. Like, for instance, why can churches go and have gatherings, but we can't have well-disciplined and organized meetings for up to 50 people? And the arguments out there on the No TBCSA is really banging away right now with getting that turned around. But if we don't actually put ourselves out there, we are going to get left behind. There's no question, because look at Ethiopian Airlines. They're going to take over from Joburg pretty soon if we let them, considering where SA is at the moment. So, yeah.
So we're getting some examples in the chat. So if you'd like to add to that, please feel free. I'd love to crowdsource some really great examples that we could release to the industry of what good work people are doing, so that we can help amplify their message. And Martin's put a few there from ATW Connect's website. Thank you, Martin. And there's also mention of Wild Earth, which we spoke about in our group as well. So please feel free, if you have any brands, tourism brands that are inspiring you, destinations, brands that are inspiring you, to throw that into the chat so that we can crowdsource some great examples. Can I just ask Chelsea to get to the next slide, please? We're going to do our second breakout. Other side, other way, other way, other way. There we go. A little bit more, a little bit more. And there, no, one more. And there we go. Okay, so what are the gaps that you can fill now that will help you stand out from the crowd? So let's not wait until February 2021. Let's not wait until a potential September opening. Let's talk about what we can do now, like some of those brands are actually doing already. What can you offer and how best can you serve your customers and community? So one of the things we spoke about in our group was to lead with empathy, which seems to be the trending word at the moment, and how your marketing actually has to lead with empathy. You have to be thinking about your customer first and foremost, the pain points that they've got, and immediately what pops to mind is, will I be safe? Will my funds be safe if I book now for next year? Tess has just said, tell your people stories. Absolutely, the authentic experience that you have to offer. What is it that's going to resonate with your customer and your community right now? So let's go out into our breakout rooms and just have a chat about what you can do right now as your brand to fill the gap and stand out from the crowd. And secondly, how you can take what you have to offer and really match that with what the specific need is for this new customer that you are going to be having in the time of COVID. So I'm going to open the rooms now. If you don't get pushed to a room, so if a button doesn't appear on your screen, don't fret. You will be left behind with me, and hopefully that's not a terrible thing. I would love to see you either way. And if you do get a message on your screen, click on it and you'll be thrown away into a breakaway room. So I've pressed the button and you should all start disappearing, except for those who would like to stay behind with me.
So yeah,
Roland, if
yes,
I can just
go for it.
I don't really know how to answer this question. My company is called Mauritius Holidays, and the product I sell is Mauritius, and I don't know when anything is going to happen next. So I find it very difficult, even if I try to keep in touch with my old customers. What can I tell them? You know, from week to week, I don't know what's going to happen next as things are postponed. I mean, is it really going to be February when we see open borders? Surely not when the rest of the world is opening before us.
Yeah,
So
I don't think that's going to be the case. Well, we hope so.
Does anyone have any thoughts there? I mean, how can...
I think it's more a question of not when we are opening our borders or South Africa is opening our borders. It's more a question of what is the perception from our clients? Is it safe to travel to us or to wherever?
Exactly.
And
is it
that
safe to
is
get
the
in
thing
an
that
airplane?
yes, but that's a part we can influence. We can show the part that where it's a positive side, what the companies, what we as my hotel is doing, for instance, to be on the positive side, and the same with the airplane. So I think that's more what we can do is to mitigate the fears, if you can call it like that.
And a good way to do that is actually showcasing what the properties, in your case, Des, like the things that I've seen from the example of Beachcomber, where they've listed their properties as there's an international safe place grading. Now I've seen in their communication that they've been pushing out that messaging and taking a lead from the airline side, things like United Airlines from the US. They've been putting out videos showing what they are actually doing on board, the different procedures that people need to be following when they fly with United, how they're cleaning their planes, how they are booking the planes even before you check or when you check in. Those procedures that they are putting in place, that I think puts a lot of ease, a lot of the travelers a bit at ease, and allies those fears that they might have of what's it like, how's it going to be, and things like that. So if you see something like that, I'd be inclined to tell you to share those type of info and that news, the positive side of what's happening with your clients, and keep them updated in newsletters. Like you say, you chat with them regularly or in emails or communication, but you use that.
So would
Yes,
would you say, sorry to interrupt, please, would you say that it would be a good thing to have your COVID protocols out, and what are you doing in terms of safety and on the property and social distancing, and how, you know, would it be a good idea to actually advertise that and put that out on your website and so on?
Yeah,
that we are
absolutely,
a safe
yes.
establishment, and this is why we are a safe establishment.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
yeah. These are the things that us as a property has put in place to ensure your safety. It's always you need to say, we've obviously done it for you to keep you safe, and this is those are the things. Yeah, that's the messaging that we've been seeing from overseas, and a lot of good forward-thinking brands have done things like that so far.
It's not very positive, is it? Because a lot of people react to all those sort of messages they see by saying, well, there's no way I'm going to travel this year. We'll see what happens next year. You know, when you start listing the restaurant that's going to remove half of the tables and chairs to have social distancing, and we're going to have rooms free for 24 hours before we disinfect them, etc., before the next clients come in. It just doesn't sound very inviting.
Can I just also just add my 2 cents worth here? And I think, as I said to you in the previous breakout room, Des, I think trust is a very important messaging right now. And although those messages aren't very positive, I think that what it does do is makes the consumer or your customer feel a little bit more comforted that you are addressing the ugly matters of the pandemic. You are addressing the practical matters. And I think in doing that, although it's not a warm and fuzzy feeling that you communicating, it is still a very empathetic and trustworthy type of communication that I think in the long run will probably serve you better than any of these brands that are going on about how everything is okay and we'll see you soon. I think that's a very, when soon doesn't come, those brands are going to look a little bit silly and you won't trust them.
Yeah. And I just want to jump in there, Charmaine, as well. And I think, you know what, we need to start realizing that a new traveler is going to emerge. And we can't think that the way things were are going to ever come back, and it's not. And yes, it might not be warm and fuzzy because you have to remove a row of tables out of a restaurant and the cozy feeling's gone because you have to do social distancing. The new traveler might not care about that. It's about those experiences and am I going to get an experience? And that warm, fuzzy, cozy restaurant might not be what they want. And it's also, there's a lot of information out there. And it's really about following the thought leaders and seeing what's doing there. We, as part of Africa Travel Week, belong to the LGBTQ Association, the International Gay, Lesbian and Travel Association, and they've just done a massive survey with their members, and it's emerging that the LGBTQ traveler is going to be one of the first travelers that are going to come back online. So that's who we need to start marketing and speaking to. Mauritius, you mentioned, luxury travel as well. It's been predicted that it's going to be one of the first people to come up. And let's be honest, the luxury establishments, you do have your on your patio and you don't go to a restaurant. So it's really about adapting your marketing to the new kind of traveler that we can see starting to emerge post-COVID-19, because that's really what's happening there. And yes, have those warm, inspirational messages. I'm loving saying that we're going to travel again, but we're going to travel again differently, and we need to start marketing to those new breed of travelers.
I think you've got a very good point, Martin. We should focus really on our customers, or what our new customers are going to be like, rather than the product itself. What are they going to want? So I don't know if you are factually correct about what market is going to start up first. If you are, that gives us all a clue as to what we should be doing.
As soon as I've got that information from the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association, I'll share it with everyone so we can, get that.
Thank you.
It concurs with the information that I got from TripAdvisor's results from their different survey that they've done. So I think it is a really good market.
Mm.
Just a last thought. If you look at the TripAdvisor's information on cleanliness of rooms, South Africa is on top of it. It's one of the highest and the cleanest rooms and facilities in the world. We don't realize it, but it's actually so at the moment.
Frustrated with is that the whole time we're sort of being spoken at, but nobody's really engaging anymore. So I love webinars, so I'm not taking anything away from that, and I do, and I sit and I learn a lot from them, but I also thrive off of interaction and engaging. So exactly what we're doing now is that, like, let's hear from each other and actually throw ideas out there and learn from each other, as opposed to just hearing one person speaking at you. So for me, I think that's one way of standing out, is that engagement that we're so lacking and missing, I think, at this point in time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much time to do webinars. I'm still fairly busy at work and life is always hectic. But I don't know. I don't get too much out of webinars. This is the only one with Natalia that I do.
Yeah.
I just find,
And
I don't get enough out of it.
Yeah, and I think it's almost, as you say, you pick the ones that are specific to you and that work for you, and you get onto those ones. So for instance, from our perspective, there's UFI, which is for exhibition organizers and that, and I really get good takeaways out of that, because they're taking practical case studies of what's happening now and sharing those learnings. So it's looking at stuff that's happening now. And I think for me, I get exceptionally frustrated where we're trying to plan what do we do at the end of this, because we don't know when the end is, and this is our new reality. So saying how we're going to cope with something in a few months' time is not really helping. We need to talk about now and what our reality is now and how are we doing that. And that for me is key, because even having these webinars, when we sit with big ambitions, we don't plan the speaking topics like a month in advance and have a calendar, because how do we know it's going to be relevant? It's like you can't plan anymore, which is hard for an A-type personality like me. That's how I live my life, is planning. So it's really adapting to that.
Are you with Reed Exhibitions, Megan?
Yeah, so I'm the portfolio director for Africa Travel Week. So yeah, I'm the person in the background. I always say my team's out there doing the amazing things. So yeah, we created this Africa Travel Week Connect platform in response to feedback that we actually had from the industry. So it really, and I mean, we adapt it on a daily basis, and Martin was sharing those articles, how to stand out. And it's really based on everybody's feedback on what they're looking for. So if you have any ideas, like Rose, if there's something where you're like, you know what, this is what I really need in this platform, let's look at it and bring it in. One thing that I found really interesting is that it was called the ostrich syndrome, where everyone was talking around COVID and what was actually happening. So on our portal, we put COVID as one of the top topics, because you can't ignore it. It's there. And somehow every conversation that you have ends right back at COVID. So it's really in response to what the industry needs and what you guys give us feedback on, which is why we host these in the Know series too, is to see how we can better support.
Okay, I'm actually on your website now. It is a brilliant website. So is it a brand new website?
Yeah, it's brand new. So we were always planning to launch an Africa Travel Week rebrand and have this new site. And obviously it was just completely ramped up and we had to get it out quicker, which was great in response to the industry. And what I love on there is the Travel With Me series, where you actually see and experience how people have traveled, and we've got some of our influencers and people sharing their articles. And then on top of that is the armchair travel, and it sort of feeds my wanderlust a bit, but will never really replace it. So yeah, it's just looking at how we can support you guys. So if there is something, or if there's an article, send it through. I mean, Thailand Tourism sent through an incredible one on the LGBTQ market, which is probably, I mean, the discussion there is that it's going to be one of the industries or the niche travel sectors that's going to return quickly, or at least faster than the other niche ones. So it's working with our partners on content like that and seeing how we can feed it back to everybody.
And Melanie, where are you from?
I'm from Johannesburg. I'm a freelance travel journalist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Evie?
I'm with Big Ambitions, actually. Yeah. But yeah, I also wanted to just echo some of what you were saying, Megan. But yeah, like, it's so hard to plan ahead, which I think is difficult for a lot of us. And then not to mention, you know, when it comes to what sort of communications or trying to plan like a marketing calendar for and I think one of the big things with that is this two-way communication, or, you know, engaging like what we're doing now, and because everyone's needs are changing so quickly and even from one day to the next. And I think the Africa Travel Week, the website, really speaks to these different sort of needs, where you have that, yeah, fill that wanderlust, or to fulfill that need to connect by reading about the Travel With Me series, or try to gain some sort of sense of control again in reading about how to market during this time. Yeah, so, but I think, yeah, I mean, really one of the big things we're focusing on is that opening up those two-way communication channels.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Yeah, speaking and engaging instead of being spoken at, as I keep saying.
Yeah, we all have a bit of webinar fatigue.
Yeah. As Rose says, you like pick your ones that work for you and then you stick with those, because otherwise it's just too much.
I find I've started using it as a bit of a crutch to hide behind too, because I feel like I'm being really productive if I'm watching a webinar, but it's not true necessarily. I feel like it's my time I can kind of zone out a little bit, but yeah, you really need to be conscious about what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to be, for sure. Okay. Oh,
Sandy, hello. It's me. Hi.
Hello, Tessa.
How are you?
Good. Fat and frisky.
Yeah.
I think I've gained 10 kilograms since the lockdown.
How's the whiskey stash going?
It's nearly depleted. Yeah, it's nearly depleted. It's sad.
Oh dear.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi.
Hi, Chelsea.
Who's going to go first?
Well, I don't mind going first.
Go for it.
I think one of the gaps that I've tried to fill as trainer at Thompson's Africa is I've reached out to a lot of suppliers and asked for training videos that we can then upload onto our customer zone that will reach our consultants as well as our customers. So I've taken this opportunity to actually train for the future. So it helps us that when we've got suppliers coming into our office, they don't have to come every single year, because we've got that training facility that we can train new staff, we can train our customers, and we don't specifically have to have reps coming in all the time. We've only got certain days of the week that suppliers can come into the office, and to try and get one of those gaps, I'm sure Belinda will agree with me, is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So at least that way we've got resources available to train staff and train customers on our supply, on the product that we sell, without having to have a rep coming to the office all the time.
Cool.
And that's me.
That's good.
Next.
Very cool.
Well, I'll tag on to that, Sandy. I think it's taking me to upskilling. I think this is a good opportunity to teach yourself stuff and do short courses that you haven't had time for before, and maybe skill yourself into something you didn't think of before. Because who knows how we're going to come out of this, how many companies will still be standing, how many jobs will still be standing. And, I've been in this industry for 33 years. What else do I do? So, yeah, so I found this this website called Udemy, like UDEMY.com.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And I tell you what, they've had specials on, like, social media marketing, like for $15. And what was the other one?
There was Excel courses and all sorts of things. I saw those. $150 or something. Yeah.
Exactly. I even did a HACCP food safety certification. Why not? There's going to be a lot of
And some of them are free as well.
Safety.
You don't have to pay for them. Yeah.
Exactly. So you know what? It might not be a college diploma, but it's a skill set that sometimes it's something you already know what to do, but it's just nice to have that piece of paper. Okay.
And Shaw's Academy as well are doing things like that.
Yes, yeah. I'm being bombarded with emails from them at the moment. But
I think it's
and
also,
I see UCT is also putting it. UCT is a bit more expensive and a bit more formal again.
we're also trying to think out of the box, because now we've got a new scenario and we're trying to come up with original ideas. So for me, I'm networking in different places. I'm following different groups. I'm making new friends, and just seeing what's going on, what's different. Maybe somebody who's new actually comes up with a really great idea, or somebody else in Africa on the continent. So just changing those networking circles and keeping an eye on what's fresh and exciting, because we tend to chat to our friends who are all very like-minded, and we have been doing the same thing forever, Jess. We've been working together for a long time, and it's difficult to come up with these nouveau ideas. So I think that's really exciting.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. How many of you are on LinkedIn? Hands up. Okay, great. If you're not following me already, please do. I just this past week created a new page called African Mice Planners. And it's specifically for anybody in the business tourism industry. Whether you're a venue or a planner or a hotel, whatever, if you're involved in business tourism one way or another. And, I realized there's no such support group within Africa. So I think I have 14 supporters or followers right now. So followers, there's a new word for you. So, so the plan is to start dialogue and, skills transfer, exchanging ideas. So our first event is going to be a comparison between virtual platforms. So like your VW Beetle budget and then your Rolls-Royce budget. So we're doing that next week, and then we want to start rolling out some education and awards, whatever. So if you're out there, please follow it, and if you've got any ideas, Belinda, whatever's brand new and happening, pop it out there, because I think sharing on a continental basis is really what we should be doing, because I think we spoke about South Africa is probably going to be lagging behind in terms of borders opening. So let's look at the rest of Africa. And I've seen some phenomenal webinars this past week. I tell you, Africa is ready. They are so ready to get going. Africa for Africa. We just need to support each other. And hopefully the infrastructure will come and governments will start holding hands and make things work. Enough from me.
Is anybody focusing on responsible tourism in any way, sort of on the bringing that side of travel to the fore, rather than sort of same old, just telling those kind of stories a whole bunch more?
Yes. Seen a lot of that, a lot of the social responsibility projects during this time, just to create content, meaningful content. And I think it's actually very authentic. People are starting to feel, I think everyone's become a bit quite humbled over this time. And they really are authentically, managers, GMs that probably didn't think about it before, maybe just saw it as like a PR thing, actually are feeling that and wanting to help their community. So I have seen a lot of it, which is good because it's, you know, it's coming from a place of realism and not just, like I said, PR. So I like that people are leaning into that gap, and they're leaning into the gap because it's content that it's non-travel content that they can create during lockdown. So I think that's really smart. And companies that I've seen that are getting user-generated content, so getting the audience to actually create content for them, I've seen that quite a lot, and that's very smart. Just any questions, you know, people want to engage, just posting just a social media post with a question, they're leaning into that gap of getting others to just create content for them. I find very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sustainable tourism is kind of the phrase that's out there and dancing around on my platforms as well. And sustainable tourism can take so many forms. And I think the African properties per se really lends itself to that. And in our previous group, we were talking about my focus right now is promoting smaller bespoke incentive groups. First and foremost about the experience, closer to nature, more of a soul-searching experience. But automatically, if you take over a lodge of 12 people, 12 rooms, you automatically socially distance from the rest of the world. So I think there's a great gap there.
The sustainable side's a bit tricky. So we fair trade, and our sustainability and environmental responsibility is like one of our main things that we do. But it's tricky to talk about at the moment as well, because a lot of that stuff will have to be sacrificed for the hygiene protocols that are going to be necessary over the next while. So it's tricky because people want to travel responsibly, and they, you know, we're in this nasty space because of some of the irresponsible behavior of human beings. So we want to buy properly, we want to live cleaner, we want to do all that great stuff. But at the same time, I'm probably going to have to wrap things in plastic again for the next while, because there's only so much cornstarch plastic we can buy.
Well, maybe now's the time. Maybe now's the time not just focus on the environmental side, but focus on the community side as well, and bring the community stories and all those stories into it.
Absolutely,
should actually be the key part of responsible tourism, not just having plastic and the rest of it. So, you know, maybe now's a good time to sort of swing it to pro community rather than just environment, which has been much of the conversation up until now.
I think it starts with staff. I think if you look after your staff first at the moment, you can't ignore your staff and go and, you know, feed the poor in Khayelitsha.
And customers are wanting to know what you're doing with your staff, and that's informing their decision for purchasing.
Very
cool.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
So what do you guys think? Sorry. Sorry, I'm just going to record the session just for our marketing afterwards.
Roland, if I can just start.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't really know how to answer this question. My company is called Mauritius Holidays, and the product I sell is Mauritius, and I don't know when anything is going to happen next. So I find it very difficult, even if I try to keep in touch with my old customers, what can I tell them? You know, from week to week, I don't know what's going to happen next as things are postponed. I mean, is it really going to be February when we see open borders? Surely not when the rest of the world is opening before us.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case. Well, we hope so.
Does anyone have any thoughts there? I mean, how can...
I think it's more a question of not when we are opening our borders or South Africa is opening our borders, more a question of what is the perception from our clients? Is it safe to travel to us or to wherever?
Exactly.
Is it
safe to get in an aeroplane?
Yes, but that's a part we can influence. We can show the part that where it's a positive side, what the companies, what we as my hotel is doing, for instance, to be on the positive side, and the same with the airplane. So I think that's more what we can do is to mitigate the fears, if you can call it like that.
And a good way to do that is actually showcasing what the properties in your case does. Like the things that I've seen from the example of Beachcomber, where they've listed their properties as there's an international safe place grading. Now I've seen in their communication that they've been pushing out that messaging and taking a lead from the airline side, things like United Airlines from the US. They've been putting out videos showing what they are actually doing on board, the different procedures that people need to be following when they fly with United, how they're cleaning their planes, how they are booking the planes even before you check or when you check in. Those procedures that they are putting in place, that I think puts a lot of ease, a lot of the travelers a bit at ease, and lies those fears that they might have of what's it like, how's it going to be, and things like that. So if you see something like that, I'd be inclined to tell you to share those type of info and that news, the positive side of what's happening with your clients, and keep them updated in newsletters. Like you say, you chat with them regularly or in emails or communication, but you use that.
So would you say, sorry to interrupt, would you say that it would be a good thing to have your COVID protocols out, and what are you doing in terms of safety and on the property and social distancing, and how, would it be a good idea to actually advertise that and put that out on your website and so on, that we're a safe establishment, and this is why we're a safe establishment?
I think
these are the things that us as a property has put in place to ensure your safety. It's always you need to say, we've obviously done it for you to keep you safe, and this is those are the things. That's the messaging that we've been seeing from overseas, and a lot of good forward-thinking brands have done things like that so far.
It's not very positive, is it? Because a lot of people react to all those sort of messages they see by saying, well, there's no way I'm going to travel this year. We'll see what happens next year. When you start listing the restaurant is going to remove half of the tables and chairs to have social distancing, and we're going to have rooms free for 24 hours before we disinfect them, etc., before the next clients come in. It just doesn't sound very inviting.
Can I just add my 2 cents worth here? And I think as I said to you in the previous breakout room, Des, I think trust is a very important messaging right now. And although those messages aren't very positive, I think that what it does do is makes the consumer or your customer feel a little bit more comforted that you are addressing the ugly matters of the pandemic. You are addressing the practical matters. And I think in doing that, although it's not a warm and fuzzy feeling that you communicating, it is still a very empathetic and trustworthy type of communication that I think in the long run will probably serve you better than any of these brands that are going on about how everything is okay and we'll see you soon. I think that's a very when soon doesn't come, those brands are going to look a little bit silly and you won't trust them.
And I just want to jump in there, Charmaine, as well. And I think, we need to start realizing that a new traveler is going to emerge. And we can't think that the way things were are going to ever come back, and it's not. And yes, it might not be warm and fuzzy because you have to remove a row of tables out of a restaurant and the cozy feeling's gone because you have to do social distancing. The new traveler might not care about that. It's about those experiences, and am I going to get an experience? And that warm, fuzzy, cozy restaurant might not be what they want. And it's also, there's a lot of information out there, and it's really about following the thought leaders and seeing what's doing there. We, as part of Africa Travel Week, belong to the LGBTQ Association, the International Gay, Lesbian and Travel Association, and they've just done a massive survey with their members, And it's emerging that the LGBTQ traveler is going to be one of the first travelers that are going to come back online. So that's who we need to start marketing and speaking to. Mauritius, you mentioned, luxury travel as well. It's been predicted that it's going to be one of the first people to come up. And let's be honest, the luxury establishments, you do have your breakfast on your patio and you don't go to a restaurant. So it's really about adapting your marketing to the new kind of traveler that we can see starting to emerge post-COVID-19, because that's really what's happening there. And yes, you know, have those warm, inspirational messages. I'm loving saying that we're going to travel again, but we're going to travel again differently, and we need to start marketing to those new breed of travelers.
I think you've got a very good point, Martin. We should focus really on our customers, or what our new customers are going to be like, rather than the product itself. What are they going to want? So I don't know if you are factually correct about what market is going to start up first. If you are, that gives us all a clue as to what we should be doing.
Well, as soon as I've got that information from the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association, I'll share it with everyone so we can, get that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It concurs with the information that they got from TripAdvisor's results from their different survey that they've done. So I think it is a really good market.
Mm.
Just a last thought. If you look at the TripAdvisor's information on cleanliness of rooms, South Africa is on top of it. It's one of the highest and the cleanest rooms and facilities in the world. We don't realize it, but it's actually so at the moment.
Okay, thanks everyone for coming back. So we were talking about the domestic market and how first of all, you can't see them as a silver bullet, but there are some really great opportunities in there. If you're looking at things like niche, where we talk about sporting, but also having a look at how you can start marketing to them now, so maintaining some sort of social media presence so that you can go after the domestic market and not waiting. Was there anything else that came out of your groups that you had a chat about that you'd like to share?
Well, just from our side, our group, we started chatting about the different measurements that properties and travel brands have put in place to keep their customers safe. And we kind of chatted on that, and we felt that that's actually a good position to take, to start communicating what you've been doing or what you are going to do to keep your clients safe. People might not be able to travel or book in the next couple of months, but they're able just to be a bit, how can I say, you can allay their fears and make them feel safe and trust that when you travel with them or to them, that they are going to be safe when you get there. So that type of communication we thought is quite necessary in this moment.
I see there are a couple of countries that are already, or regions really, that are already kind of doing at least marketing protocols that they've put in place. Like Algarve in Portugal has got a clean stamp that they're rolling out to products. And I think it was Spain today has announced all their industry protocols. So I know there's quite a lot of work happening behind the scenes to make sure that we have the same. Any other thoughts that came out from the breakaway sessions?
Also I was in Roland's group, and we also had that whole discussion of thinking about what the new traveler is going to be. Because yes, you can publish all these safety protocols and they are very important, but that doesn't necessarily mean that someone's going to necessarily want to go and travel because they might not feel safe. But there's that adventure traveler. There's also, I read a report that the luxury travel will be one of the first people to go on, because in essence, some of the luxury lodges are self-distancing already. That's what the whole purpose was. You were paying for privacy. So it's about looking at those markets and saying, those are the ones who I need to start attracting, and how can I go about it? There's also, and I see Martina's on this call here as well, there was a fantastic report that's come out from the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association, where they're saying that the LGBTQ market is going to be one of the first markets to go online again and are wanting to travel. So it's about thinking, who is this new market and how can I market to the new traveler that is going to emerge post-COVID-19?
Anything else? Any other brainwaves that came through?
Just a thought, Natalie. Sorry, I'm on mute. Just a thought here on the destinations and some of the activities. The social distancing there, I think, may be easier for us to understand and control. But perhaps the concern, as with our domestic economy opening up, is the public transport, or, the flights and getting people here. I think for a lot of people, that's going to be the big concern about the longer distance traveling, which is where it's maybe going to be an advantage focusing on the local market, because people travel in their own vehicles, so they're more in control of the safety side of it.
I think also, Natalia, if I could just jump in there with an extra point in terms of marketing, is that we've got to remember that people won't just travel here because we are COVID safe. They need to also have an emotional reason to be traveling. You've got to remember that when we do destination marketing, people are tapping into the marketing side of why you travel. What's the emotion that you're tapping into that attracts people to your destination? And we still got to remember that we have to be telling a story as to why they must come to us. We're not just telling the story that we're COVID safe. We've got to be tapping into all the emotional needs of that traveler that's going to pull them to our destination for that magical trip.
Oh, that's such a good point. On that note, I have put in the chat, these sessions are sessions that, we know all of you are totally inundated with screen time, and that your eyes have Zoom has demanded attention from your eyes for the last 2 months, and they're probably square at the stage. And we're incredibly grateful that you've joined us to be in these sessions, and would love your feedback on what would work for you, what help you need. You might think that this particular format doesn't work for you and you prefer webinars or smaller groups or whatever that feedback is, but we really want to make sure that we as a community can come together and talk about things and crowdsource solutions. So we're really relying on you to lean in and suggest what that looks like. So I have pasted in the chat that if you do have any suggestions on how to improve the format of the sessions or the topic that you would like to see discussed in future, that you please email my colleague Chelsea at bigambitions.co.za. We'd really love that feedback, and we really love seeing you here and just being able to have a chat. We're not going to save the world, but at least we can have a chat that will spark some thought about what we're going to do, or what we can do, and what we can control. And I think that's really all we can do right now, is focus on what we can control as an industry and talk about it until we find the right solutions. So my thanks to everyone again for joining us today. And I know we'll have another one in a couple of weeks' time. I hope to see all your friendly faces again. I hope to have a haircut between them now and then, because I really need one. And I hope you all have a fantastic, warm weekend. So thank you so much for joining us again today. And we look forward to your feedback. Chelsea at bigambitions.co.za.
Thank you, Nat.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.